Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining me here today. We're going to start with a few opening prayers. There's a link to the opening prayers in the description of the video if you're on YouTube. And if you are on tara.org, you can click the link for the KPC YouTube channel right above the video and look in the description of the video for the prayers. The first prayer we'll say 3 times. We're going to chant this in Tibetan. The first prayer we'll say 3 times, and the next prayers we'll say 1 time each. If you're not used to chanting in Tibetan, you can say them in English or read along silently. Any of those are fine. And let's start. Organ yugi numjan sampemage sardompola yatsin chogi ngodrupne pemajune jesurag kordu kandro mangpokor ketki jesu drupki jinji lopchi shek suso guru pelma city home. Organ yugi numjan sam pemage sardompola yatsin chogi ngodrupne pemajungne jesudrag kordu kandro mangpokor ketki jesu drupki jinji lopchi shek suso guru pelma city home. Organ yugi numjan sam pemage sardompola yatsin chogi ngodrupne pemajungne jesurag kordu kandro mangpokor ketki jesu drupki jinji lopchi shek suso guru pelma city home. And continuing on, we do these 1 time each. Kunsando sem garab shiri sing pema kara jebani shunga soso nimna tatan kata sok kate lama namla sowadem. Ogmin chuki yinki podana dusum sange kongi ngawone rangsem choku ngonsun tonsepe tawe lama namla sowadem. Sashi pochu chuching me do tram ri rab ning shin degen body sange zing du mikte puai droku nam da jing la chupar shok tram guru ratna mandala putsa mega samudra saparana samaye ahom. Samchen namki sampadang lohi jeja jitawar chechon tomon tepai choki korlo kordu so. Let's take a moment to remember our motivation for being here today and to generate compassion. We say these prayers at the beginning of each teaching in order to help get our minds into the right space, in order to be able to receive the teachings and actually absorb them so that we can put them into practice. And in addition to the prayers, it's important to also just take a moment to generate compassion. Whenever we begin an activity, we should begin by generating compassion for all beings and establishing a pure motivation. We're usually motivated by our own selfish desires, and so we need to consciously choose not to be, consciously choose to do something for the benefit of all. It is especially true when we sit down to meditate or pray or listen to a Dharma talk, but it's also true for every kind of activity that we engage in, whether we are feeding our children or making the bed or planting a garden. No matter what we're doing, it's important to establish a pure, compassionate motivation first. So let's take a moment to generate compassion and make the wish that what we learned today will bring immeasurable benefit to ourselves and to all beings. We're going to start with a brief breath meditation. Allowing our minds to rest on the rhythm and the feeling of our own breath is truly restful for the mind. It creates space in the mind, which helps us to balance our emotions. Our minds are so busy and distracted all of the time. It's like having a television set that's constantly on. Just constant noise, flipping rapidly channel to channel, but we don't know where we put the remote. And we might not even know that we have a remote for this TV chattering on inside of our heads. We're so hooked on the TV, we can't take our eyes away from the action for even one brief moment. Even if we hate the show that we're watching, we're so entranced by it, we can't pull our attention away. We are constantly preoccupied with the objects that we perceive and whether we want them or we don't want them or we feel neutral about them. And this constant fixation is exhausting. Tsoknyi Rinpoche says, our experience is a mixture of fixing our mind on different things, one after another, and being worn out by doing so. Because we are incessantly preoccupied with this, that, and the next thing, there is hardly any free time to be there for others and care for them. True compassion gets no room in one's mind. It is so difficult to pull ourselves away from the TV, though. Each of us has active or aggressive phases with a lot of movement when we just can't break away from the entrancement of our lives. This is when we're at our most unstable. We don't even realize what we're doing. As Jetsuma says, we let ourselves roll with whatever comes along. It's very individual how long that cycle lasts. It could be 10 minutes, it could be an hour, it could be a day or longer. And when that cycle is over, we may wake up and wonder, where have I been? I've been very busy, but doing what exactly? And then we, in a sense, we come home. Then I'm apparently missing a page here in my notes. So we essentially come home then, like a homing pigeon almost. Just give me 1 second. I seem to be missing a page in my notes, and so I'm just going to pull it up on my Google Docs. So, thank you. It's convenient. So at the end of this period of this active phase, this active or aggressive phase, however long it lasts for us, when it's over, in a way we kind of come home, like a pigeon returning to its roost. And there's a period of inactivity, which may feel like an inward feeling. Jetsuma says, at that time it is relatively easy to stop and look at how we have been thinking, what we did was wrong, what we did that was right, and how it all relates to practice. The difficult habit to break then is to be able to pull ourselves away from the TV, to use that process of introspection in the middle of an active or aggressive phase. That skill is harder to master because in order to have that skill, one needs a little space in the mind. There must be some mental spaciousness. If we think of the experience of animals, animals have no awareness of the cause and effect reactions occurring in their minds. They react to stimuli, but they do not have the spaciousness to be aware of the events occurring within their minds or that they have causes. Jetsama says, the fact that we know cause and effect shows that we have some spaciousness within our minds. One reason for developing this kind of spaciousness is that we need to begin to disengage some of the habitual tendencies that are associated with cyclic existence. These are the habits that keep us trapped in a state of suffering, such as hatred, greed, or ignorance. As long as we allow these habits to exist within ourselves, even if we practice the Dharma continually, if we are also practicing hatred, greed, and ignorance, then we are incurring more and more negative karma, even while we try to do good. We try to go forward, but our bad habits pull us backward. We're basically spinning our wheels in the middle of nowhere. We need space in our minds so that our practice can be productive and useful, so that we can get the most out of it. If we truly wish to be of benefit to others, and if we want to be happy ourselves, then it's not logical to allow our desire, our pride, our greed, ignorance, and hatred to remain. Why not do something about them right now? Jetsama says, no one can get rid of desire, get rid of pride, or get rid of anger if there is not enough stability and spaciousness to look at what is in one's mind, to see how we are acting, and to see what it is going to bring about. There must be a little space to be able to do that. Otherwise, we will be one of those people who says, but I can't help it. I always get arrogant. I always get mad. I'm compulsive. By saying, I always do that and I can't help it, that is saying that you are comfortable with your behavior and you are willing to live that way. So this attitude of helplessness will not accomplish anything. We're not helpless. We can help ourselves. We can overcome these habits. And it begins with creating spaciousness in our minds. So let's make some space. Sit comfortably. If you're in a chair, you're on the floor, however you are, just sit comfortably with your back straight. There are advantages to sitting in Lotus posture or half Lotus posture, which basically means with your legs crossed in different ways. And if these are uncomfortable, you can sit crisscross applesauce, or you can sit in a chair. What's most important is to have a straight back. And you may need to sit on a cushion to help you get in the right posture. And then when you're in a comfortable seat, just place your hands on your lap, or you can sit with your hands, the right hand held in the left hand, slightly below your navel, with your elbows out. And if you have your hands in your lap, also be aware your elbows should be kind of out so that your shoulders are open. We're trying to have some really good posture, straight posture that's going up through our neck. You can imagine a string coming up through the top of the spine to imagine your spine being straight all the way up. And your shoulders are open. Your elbows are open so you can breathe naturally. We've got some good space in our body, and that will help the energy to move in a way that will be conducive to our meditation. Then gently press the tip of your tongue against the roof of your mouth, just behind your teeth. And your mouth is open slightly. Just slightly, not much. Not like some people meditate like, not like that. Just open slightly. And keep your eyes semi-open, looking out and slightly downward towards the tip of your nose. You can just let your eyes kind of follow the tip of your nose downward. Allow yourself to relax completely and breathe normally. If you find some tension in your breath, you might want to start by taking a deep exhale. And then relax into your normal rhythm of breathing. We're going to put a very light attention on our breath. Don't try to control your breath at all. Just breathe naturally and put the most gossamer thin attention on your breath. It's like taking your pulse. You don't try to change it in any way. You're just very gently observing it. Your attention is almost like a feather, gently riding on the surface of your breath. And your ego is going to try and distract you in all of its many ways. So you may have some brilliant ideas, or you may think you left the stove on. You may remember everything that you have to do after this class, or anything that, so many things that we can think of. It doesn't matter what your thoughts are. You can just let them go. And just dismiss the thoughts and return to your breath. Don't try to stop your thoughts or change your thoughts, make them positive thoughts. Don't try to mess with them at all. Just let them go. Your meditation is not lost by hearing your thoughts, but by following them down the road. So when you find yourself following a thought, just drop it. Wherever you find yourself following your thought, just drop it. You don't have to examine it and see if it's a good thought or a bad thought. It does not matter. Just let them go like bubbles popping in the surface of a pond. Let them pop. Don't even look to see what they are. If it's really difficult for you to dismiss your thoughts, you can imagine tongs picking up the thought and dropping it, or you can visualize cutting them with scissors and throwing them away. But you always return to your single-pointed concentration. We return again and again to this gossamer thin attention on our breath. So we are going to meditate for 5 minutes. Just keep the most gossamer thin attention on your breath. Did you find yourself being carried away by your thoughts during that meditation? Did you find yourself able to focus on your breath? Was it easy? Or did your thoughts come and steal you away? When we find ourselves being carried away by our thoughts, so often we are already far, far down the road with them. It's a bit like when you're driving on the highway and you realize that you've missed your exit. You come to and realize that you were kind of asleep at the wheel, and then you figure out where you are and get back on your route. Because we are asleep, we don't see the mechanism of the thoughts that carry us away. We are carried off into the night, not knowing what it is that steals us away, not knowing how it works or how to work with it. But if we watch our minds, we can reveal its inner workings. This is what the Buddha did. He observed his mind and the world around him and came to understand the nature of mind and the nature of reality itself. With diligence, we too can awaken from the slumber of ignorance and realize the nature of mind and free ourselves from the suffering of cyclic existence. We just have to follow in his footsteps. Imagine that a burglar robs a house in the middle of the night every night. Night after night, this burglar comes and robs this house. Every time the police respond, but they are too late. By the time they get there, the burglar is off to another house, he's in another county, somewhere else. All they can do is say, yep, the burglar came and he's gone again. The robberies continue night after night because the burglar gets away before anyone turns on the light. He's an intelligent criminal, too. He leaves no trace. The police aren't even sure how he gets in. The trick, then, is to catch him in the act. So you install floodlights and see him fleeing over a fence. You try to up the ante a little bit. You install a security system, and then you see him fleeing the house, the back door slamming behind him. So you get a dog that barks when he hears the intruder downstairs. You continue to bring your awareness closer and closer to the moment the thief enters. Eventually, you will catch him in the act. The thief that we are trying to catch is the thief of our happiness, the mind of duality. This is where all of our troubles begin. The Buddha taught that the underlying cause of all suffering is desire. The wheel of death and rebirth, also called cyclic existence or samsara, begins with the assumption or idea of self-nature being inherently real. Why does this idea occur? Because it can. It happens because it can. End of story. The great ground of primordial nature contains within it all potentials. And one of those potentials is the idea that self-nature is inherently real. With that assumption, we have considered ourselves separate. Jetsma says, in order to consider one's self-nature as separate, other has to be external. In order for other to be external, it has to be determined. In order for it to be determined, we have to react toward it. There has to be a reaction toward it with acceptance or rejection. You cannot see something without registering acceptance or rejection, or the combination of the two, which is neutrality. Neutrality is not a lack of reaction, it is a combination of reactions. So we cannot experience anything as outside ourselves without some sort of reaction. And once it has happened, we react toward everything with hope and fear. So everything in samsara is then built from that original structure of the idea of self-nature being inherently real, and at this point, one's self is determined, and other becomes external. We split into subjective-objective reality. Everything in samsara, every kind of perception with the senses, anything that we take in with our eyes, our ears, our tongues, anything that senses, comes from, at the root, that original construct, that original assumption of self-nature as being inherently real. So everything in samsara is built of that. That is to say that nothing that we experience now, nothing that we have ever experienced, is separate from the realm of desire. So literally, everything within samsara is potentially cause for more suffering. Between the flood of information coming in about current events in the external world, our memories of the past, our plans for the future, it's no wonder that our minds are so dang busy. Looking into our mind's nature under these conditions, when we're so busy thinking things, you will find that our minds are very unsettled and unstable. Our minds are like wild, drunken monkeys, disagreeable, and inherently dissatisfied. Our minds don't sit still for even 1 second. They are perpetually restless, neurotically jumping from one thing to another. Chagdao Tuku says, "The ordinary mind assumes that everything perceived by the five senses is real, when ultimately none of it is. From this falsehood arises the interplay of separation and differentiation. And from that, hope, fear, attachment, aversion, pride, jealousy, and ignorance." If we let the mind rest for a moment in a state of natural, uncontrived openness, all such emotion falls away. But then something comes to our attention. A curtain flutters. We hear a car or glimpse someone walking by. The mind immediately focuses on the stimulus as something outside of and other than the self. Making this distinction between self and other establishes the false perception we call duality. When we look at whatever has caught our attention and take note of details, its color, shape, size, we judge, evaluate, and further conceptualize. Then, on the basis of this assessment, we decide whether we like it or dislike it. From our initial perception, these steps lead to full-blown attachment or aversion. That is where our experience of suffering starts. If we want something and can't have it, we suffer. If we don't want something but it comes to us anyway, we suffer. We think our suffering is caused by the object we are attached or averse to, when actually the root can be found many steps earlier in the mind's dualistic perception. However we respond to the objects that we perceive, whether we are pleased or displeased or indifferent, we still desire more. Even if we are temporarily pleased, we still desire more. If you eat a piece of chocolate and you like it, are you satisfied? No, you like it and therefore you want another bite. Our minds are invariably dissatisfied and unappreciative. Our minds never say, "I've had enough." They never say that. If we like something, we want to keep getting that thing until eventually it might become an object of aversion to us. I'm the kind of person that likes to eat the same thing every day. I tend to get into ruts with my food, so I'll eat maybe I'll have a tuna sandwich every day for lunch for a while. I'll like it. I'll have enjoyed it, so I'll want another. I'll want to do the same thing the next day because I liked it before. Eventually, maybe I get sick of it and it becomes something I'm averse to because I had too much of it. The tuna sandwich hasn't changed, but my reaction to it has. I want it, and I want it, and I want it, and I want it, and then I don't want it. But if someone serves me a tuna sandwich when I don't want it, I'm going to be very unhappy. So we do this with everything. Everything that we do. Our minds just go on and on mechanically. Like it, don't like it, or indifferent, which again is a mix of the two. When we encounter any small difficulty, our minds will quickly change their position and become angry. You can see yourself do that one, right? Anytime, you encounter any small difficulty at work, or someone gives you a little bit of attitude about something, or something is just, the silverware drawer sticks when you're trying to shut it, and immediately you get so angry over such a small thing. And at other times, we may be extremely insensitive and sink into a dumb and ignorant condition. And this is how our minds jump around. I'm just thinking of that 90s song, jump, jump, jump around. That's how our minds are all the time. And Khenpo Palden Chera Rinpoche says, when we look into these various attitudes, we find that none of them has any kind of solid existence. They're like foam on the ocean, or a little cluster of bubbles on a stream. However, these tiny bubbles join together to form big obstacles, which prevent us from understanding. They prevent us from understanding, discovering, and realizing the true nature of the mind. Meditation affects the breakdown or dissolution of this busy mass into one peaceful bubble. The Buddha taught many different levels of shamatha meditation in order to suit the individual needs and capabilities of all beings. And all of these techniques can be summarized into two main categories, called shamatha with an object and shamatha without an object. Either form of shamatha, with either one of these, the essence of this meditation is the continuity of mindfulness. That is, maintaining a steady focus and not letting our attention wander. Sustained mindfulness is really the heart core of shamatha meditation, and with practice we can maintain this pure awareness in every situation, no matter what we're doing. The future Buddha Maitreya said, "The essence of shamatha meditation is to keep the mind one-pointed, not to be distracted by anything." Through shamatha meditation, like the breath meditation we did at the beginning of class, we can counteract our age-old habits that trap us in cyclic existence. So I want to do a little meditation now. So, to understand how suffering begins, what we can do is we can watch it happen. We can actually see this happen in our own minds. If you let the mind rest naturally in the moment, dropping all thoughts of past or future, what you find is openness, without grasping, confusion, or suffering. The mind is aware and clear. Then you see or hear something and your awareness darts to it like an arrow. So when we do this meditation, I'm going to explain first what this will be like and what you can do during the meditation, and then we'll take a couple minutes to just try it ourselves, okay? So first, we'll let our mind rest naturally in the moment, dropping all thoughts of past or future, and we'll see our mind being aware and clear. And then when our awareness darts to something, when we see or hear something and our awareness darts to something, ask yourself, do you experience any suffering in the act of perception itself? Just watch it happen. Watch yourself notice the object and just see, do you experience any suffering in that moment? Next, then, you may notice details, a shape or a color or a size. Do you experience any suffering at this point? Can your mind remain relaxed as you perceive these details? Does it immediately assess, categorize, or judge the object that you perceive? Observe what happens when you do judge the object you perceive. You like it or not? Watch carefully to determine when disturbance first arises in your mind. Does your liking the object lead to attachment? Do you think, I need that? If you don't get it, will you suffer? Does your not liking it make you want to get rid of it? If you can't avoid it, will you suffer? Do these feelings of liking or not liking, do you want to act on the basis of these feelings? Would your actions harm or benefit yourself or others? Would they bring temporary as well as ultimate benefit? Observe the sequence of events in your mind leading from a peaceful state of rest to perception, judgment, and the arising of emotional poisons. Observe how the mind gives rise to the four obscurations. Notice duality. You suddenly identify an other. Mental poisons, karma, and habitual patterns. You can see those four obscurations arise in your mind. You have duality, mental poisons, karma, habitual patterns. Observe the process by which the relaxed state becomes disrupted, not by outer circumstances, but by your mind's reaction to them. So we're going to take just like a minute or two to try this. It doesn't take long to do this because we're not able to stay in the relaxed state of being aware and clear. We're not able to stay there for very long. So just like with the example of the burglar coming into the house, we try and move our awareness closer and closer and notice. At first you'll find yourself, you'll only notice that you're carried away from that state at a certain point when you're way down the road. But over time, as you practice seeing your mind move from this state of awareness to going through these steps of noticing an object, judging it, responding to it, when you notice that happening, you will get better at it. And you'll be able to kind of move your awareness in closer to the beginning of that chain of events. At the beginning, it's very difficult to notice it until you're a little bit far down the road. It happens so very fast. But as you go, you'll be able to notice more and more closer to the beginning of this chain of events. So we'll just try this for just about a minute or two. So again, we're going to start by just letting the mind rest naturally in the moment, dropping all thoughts of past or future. Allow your mind to rest. Let it be, just as it is. And then watch what happens when it leaves that state. If you notice yourself having left that state, go back, start over. Let the mind rest naturally in the moment. Watch what happens when you leave that state. You may find it difficult to get into the initial state, which is the initial point of letting the mind rest naturally in the moment. If you find it difficult to do that, then it likely means you need to do more breath meditation and start stabilizing your mind. It's very difficult to perceive that state for very long if your mind is very busy and distracted. So by doing the breath meditation like we did at the beginning of class, that helps to calm down our minds and helps to slow down that reactivity. So we have a little bit more space in order to see each of these steps occurring. But this is something that you can try doing at any time. You can, it is a good idea to try sitting down in meditation. Maybe after you've done a few minutes of breath meditation, take a moment and let your mind rest naturally. Let it rest, and then see how long you are able to stay in that state. Don't grasp to it, but just see. Just see how long your mind rests, and then see how it is that it moves out of that state. See yourself noticing and judging, generating emotions based off of the judgment, generating actions based off your emotions. Notice that process happening. This is not something that, after millennia of being asleep for this process and not thinking about it and not noticing it, it's not easy to change gears and to try and slow down and notice this process. It's a little bit like asking a fish what water tastes like, right? It's like contemplating air. You can't even, like room temperature air, you can't really feel it, you can't really name it, you can't see it. It's not something we're used to thinking about, but once you learn about it, then you're able to start observing it, even though it's very subtle. So now that you know this about your mind, about how these thoughts come to be that carry you off in your meditation, and that carry you off all throughout your day, it would be good to continue noticing this habit and continuing to work with it. So throughout your day, take a moment and watch your mind react to phenomena. Maybe when you drink your coffee in the morning, just watch your mind. Take a sip. Watch your mind react to it. Watch your mind react to noticing the temperature, noticing the taste. Do you like it? Do you not like it? Are you neutral? Just watch your mind. Ask yourself, how does my mind react to this? How does the reaction happen? What are the mechanics of it? Watch it occur. Just watch it unfold. One year, there was a retreat every year, not this year because of COVID, but every year at in upstate New York at the Pyle Retreat Center. There is a month-long retreat, and one year Jetsama bought pizza for everyone at the retreat center. Normally the food there is wonderful food there. It's usually kind of like Asian cuisine, and there's someone that runs the kitchen that is she makes wonderful Asian food. I think it comes from a few different, mostly Chinese food, but I think it has influences from a variety of places around Asia. But it's often, lots of rice, meat, vegetables, or if you're vegetarian, rice, tofu, vegetables, every day. Some people get bored of it. I personally think it's really wonderful and delicious, but some people, Americans, get bored of it and they start craving pizza and hot dogs and burgers and the rice. I think people get sick of eating rice every day, or there's oatmeal every morning. People get a little sick of it. So one year, Jetsama bought pizza for everyone at retreat. And a lot of people were very excited about this. It was interesting. Some people were like, why is there pizza? And some people were very excited about it. But she had me put up a sign at the beginning of the cafeteria line. She had me put up signs that just said, you know, like, as you eat this pizza, watch your mind. Just watch your mind as you eat this pizza. And so that's what everyone did. We all sat down and ate the pizza, and we watched our minds react to it. And whether we were one of the people who likes eating rice every day or one of the people who doesn't like eating rice every day, we all were able to just eat this pizza and watch our mind's reaction to it. And in doing that, then eating pizza became a way to practice the Dharma, and a way to walk towards enlightenment. You really can turn any activity into a beneficial activity by using it as an opportunity to watch your mind. And this is something that you can do that no one needs to know that you are doing. It's probably better that they don't. You know, you don't need to make a big deal out of, you know, I'm going to, you know, everyone be quiet. We're having mindful eating now. Like, you don't have to make a big deal out of it. But at any moment when you remember to, you can watch your mind react to something. If you get an email from your boss, watch your mind react to it. That little like ding in your inbox, watch your mind react to it. When your text messages ding on your phone, watch your mind react to it. What happens? You hear the ding, you notice it, and what happens? How does that chain of events unfold in your mind? Anything that happens, someone smiles at you, what is the chain of events that unfold in your mind? At any moment that you can just be present with that process and watch it, that is a good thing to do. We've been practicing mindlessness for so long, it's so easy to fall back into our usual fog and forget to do this. So one way that we can remember to bring this awareness into our daily life is to set reminders for ourselves. There was once a boy who had, he had faith in the Dharma, and he practiced, he prayed, he said mantras, he attended empowerments, he listened to his teachers, and his mother was not so inclined. And he worried about her, and he really wanted her to, he wanted her to pray too. He wanted her to try to do these things too, because he knew that they were beneficial. And she was like, I don't have time to do that. I have to take care of the household. I have to cook. I have to clean. I have to do all these things. Like, I don't have time to sit down and meditate like you do. Like, I can't do this. And so he said, look, if will you promise me this? Every time you hear a bell, will you say, Om Mani Padme Hum? Om Mani Padme Hum is the mantra of Avalokiteshvara, the Buddha of compassion. And so it's a mantra that essentially means, like, may the jewel of compassion arise within the lotus of my heart. Along those lines, very rough translation. But it's praying for the awakening of compassion. And so she said, yeah, I can do that. If I hear a bell ring, I'll say Om Mani Padme Hum. Fine, I can do that much for you. If that'll get you off my back, I'll do it. So then the boy tied bells to his mom's door, and he tied them to her cooking spoons, her wooden spoons that she used to cook, and just in a few places, like items that she often interacted with, maybe the end of the broom or something. And every time that she heard the bell ring, she said, she actually, essentially, and I can't remember how it goes in Tibetan, but she changed the mantra a little bit. Essentially, she said it in a way that means, like, I'm paying this tax of saying Om Mani Padme Hum. And so, for my son, I'm paying this tax, Om Mani Padme Hum. So ding-a-ling-a-ling. For my son, I'm paying this tax, Om Mani Padme Hum. And she would say it, but she said it. So we can do this in a way. We can tie bells to things that we think can, that might be good times to remind us to pay attention. And you don't have to use a bell. You might even just, you can put a post-it note. Put a post-it note somewhere, maybe on your bathroom mirror, and remind yourself to watch your mind while you brush your teeth or something. Or make it a habit that when you have your morning coffee, to just not do anything else in that moment. Just drink your coffee and watch your mind react to it. Or, just find a time in your day when you can do that. Identify some times in your day when you might be able to do this, and think of a way that you can set a reminder for yourself. So one idea that I had as a reminder that we can all use is, we're very fortunate that in this day and age, we have the reminder of social media to remind us how much we like and don't like things. It's amazing to me that with our minds that have this pattern of creating a reality based off of, perceiving, liking, not liking, neutral, which creates these emotional reactions, which creates action. And here we are, and we've the monster that we've created, the machine monster of social media that we've created, asks us to do exactly that. We have created a machine that asks us to perpetuate this habit. You see an article. Do you like it? Do you love it? Does it make you angry? Does it make you sad? What's your emoji reaction? What's your reaction to this? Do you feel drawn to share it? Do you feel, what is that going to drive you to an action? Do you want to sign this petition? Do you want to share this on social media? The social media just asks us to perpetuate liking, not liking, neutral. I see an article and I like it. I see a dog photo. I love it. I see someone died. I have the care emoji. Facebook's got this new care emoji. It's like a hug. I've got, you see something political, you get angry. You see something, you see something horrible, you've got sadness. You've got, I think there's a wow emotion too. You see something amazing. Wow. All of these reactions. So when you're scrolling social media, when you see that invitation to like or love or to hate something, allow it to remind you of this habit of liking, not liking, or neutral. That this is our habit. This is what we do with everything, even when we're not on social media, even just in our daily life. So I invite you to use social media as an opportunity to remind yourself of this habit of reactivity that inflames your mind. And maybe you'll notice also then how the habit of when you're on social media and you're reacting to things, maybe you'll notice how that is inflaming your mind. So I hope you will put this into practice. I hope that you will take the time to watch your mind and to watch these reactions happen. And I hope that you will also spend some time focusing on your breath, even if it's just a couple minutes a day. I only do a 5-minute meditation in this class, which I think is pretty short, but even that is probably long for a number of people who are just starting. You may want to start with even just 2 minutes, even just 1 or 2 minutes focused on your breath. And then move up from there. Add a minute at a time and move up from there. But even that little bit every day, it will start to create space in your mind, and then you will be able to start with that spaciousness. You'll be able to see these reactions happening, and then you won't be so carried away by them. So always at the end of your practice, remember to dedicate the merit for the benefit of all beings, and we will do that now. The dedication prayer is on the last page of that opening prayers packet. By this effort, may all sentient beings be free of suffering. May their minds be filled with the nectar of virtue. In this way, may all causes resulting in suffering be extinguished, and only the light of compassion shine throughout all realms.